right, folks, welcome to another edition of Outspoken. I'm Dan Sileo. What an absolutely insane time it's been in sports. World Cup has galvanized the entire country. Major League Baseball, the All-Star game is right around the corner. How about this? Next week, the San Francisco 49ers, the Seahawks, Arizona Cardinals, and the Carolina Panthers are reporting to training camp. NFL right around the corner. Guys, we got so much to get to. Fire the cannons. Listen, one thing is for sure. America knows how to put on a party. You know, it's been really a great visual watching the World Cup and what we've seen and how all these cities like Kansas City, San Diego, across the country are just pinned into watching the television when it comes to World Cup. Ratings are through the roof. There's no doubt it's galvanized the American sports fan. But how does that affect U.S. men's soccer? Will it become something after the fact, or will we put on our 4-year cap as broadcasters and media outlets every year and pretend that we're talking about something we really don't understand, which is world soccer, which is FIBA soccer? Folks, I've said this before. American soccer will never, ever, ever grab anywhere when it comes to being an international sport and translate into America because of one thing, Jimmys and Joes. Our best athletes don't participate in U.S. soccer. They just don't. From the ages of 12 to 15, there's a disconnect in this country. The kids go and play either football, baseball, basketball, or even hockey. They don't continue the trend of being in a soccer camp. Why? Because, again, United States soccer is nowhere as a mainstream sport. You know, I hear people saying this. Well, look at what's happened. Maybe the MLS. That's minor league soccer. When you watch the Premier League and you see the great athletes that the Premier League has, and then you turn on the MLS, again, I just had to look it up when it started its season. You know when that is? It's in February, in case you're keeping score. Folks, no doubt about it. The ratings have been great. The sport is great when it's played by great players. America doesn't have great players. Did you see that embarrassing display against Belgium? Folks, the energy was built. The American fan base wanted something great every single year for the last 90 years. We've heard this. U.S. men's soccer is on the horizon. Guys, stop saying this. It is not. It will never take a foothold in this country because of what I said, Jimmys and Joes. We don't have our best players playing in this sport. They're going to go to the NBA. They're going to go to the National Football League. They're going to go to Major League Baseball. It's just not a sport that is resonating with the American athlete. Until that changes, we're going to be in the same spot every 4 years. And for the record, it's about the process. It's an elitist sport in this country. The rich kids play. If you don't have north of $75,000 invested in sending your kid to a camp, there's no chance in hell that your kid's going to be a superstar soccer player or even be thought of to make this U.S. men's national team. And quite frankly, those aren't the best kids. Because you have the most money doesn't mean they're the best athletes. Look at what we see with teams around the world. How can places like Costa Rica or places like Ecuador or places like anywhere in the country, in the world, have better soccer players than us? Easy. They open it up for everyone. The poor, the rich, they're looking for the best players to make their squads. Hey, both Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi, these guys came from small means and turned out to be the greatest athletes in the planet. I mean, when you open up your doors to everyone, to every economic situation, how about this? What's more important is once this sport of soccer opens the door and has inner city kids trying to participate, maybe you'll get more athletes playing in U.S. men's soccer. And I don't just mean African-American kids. I'm talking about all kids that are in inner cities. When you stop the notion that you have to be able to spend money in this country for you to be able to get the best players, you've got to open your doors to everyone. United States Soccer does not do that. It doesn't go in and recruit the inner city. Football, baseball, basketball, they recruit the inner city. That's what's happening, and why you look around the world and you see today when you have teams from England, from Germany, all over the planet, they go into their inner cities and they're looking for the best players. America's looking for the richest players. There lies your problem. The richest players aren't your best players. Unfortunately, U.S. soccer will never, ever go forward until it gets away from that. And Landon Donovan has even said it. It's an economic situation. It's the hiring practices on finding athletes, again, all over this country, not just at country clubs. All right. So the Department of Justice is now getting involved in this Caitlin Clark story. GOP lawmakers warned the WNBA the DOJ could get involved if the league fails to address the incidents involving Caitlin Clark. Folks, this has become a scenario now with every single time I tune on and I watch a game and the goon squad is at Caitlin Clark's foot. I mean, folks, where are we going with this? It is one of the most obnoxious things you have going, and you're leaderless at the top with Kathy Engelberg. She is the worst commissioner in all of American sports. Make no mistake about it. Anytime that she's asked a question, she's not available for comment. How could you not be available for comment when people are just looking for simple answers? And by the way, where's the NBA in this? 42% of the WNBA is owned by league owners and also the WNBA, with 16% filling out the rest when it comes to private donations and private investors. Is she taking her marching orders from the NBA? Why is she so afraid to insult or maybe even upset the other players in the league? Why is this in this position here where the NBA has not gotten involved yet with this, and you're leaderless at the top? You can't even get a decent explanation on a rule issue or anything that goes on in that league. Dan Patrick had an interview scheduled with her. She was getting ready to answer all these questions. And get this, she said her PR department said that she shouldn't do the interview. Last I checked, I thought PR departments worked for the commissioner and helped the commissioner. Never in my wildest dreams have I ever heard a commissioner say, hey, guess what, folks? I've got to take the advice of my PR department because I don't want to address the issues that are going on in my own sport. You talk about not having a backbone. That's not having a backbone. Makes no sense in where we're going here with this. Man, this doesn't look good. And you're getting the government involved in it now? Give me a break here. Hey, our great friends at Morgan & Morgan, the #1 injury law firm in all of America for a reason, folks. It's because they win. With over $20 billion recovered, Morgan & Morgan is the #1 firm in the country. Family in Pennsylvania, I told you, man, they were initially offered $650K. They got nearly $30 million in settlement. Or the family in Florida that was initially offered $350,000, they got nearly $12 million in settlement. Go to forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. And I'm telling you, do me a favor. You tell them Big Sales sent you. Boy, we've had a great conversation with JY on this here. We'll do that. And by the way, how about the NBA news? I mean, where does LeBron go? Looks like it's a three-headed horse here, and where he could maybe go to. The Cavaliers, the 76ers, or the Miami Heat. We'll talk to JY next, right here on SportsGrid. There's a story going on also that we didn't hit in the opening block here, and that is with the Clippers and with the Toronto Raptors here. And it looks like potentially a shady deal was going on here behind the scenes here with a $28 million endorsement with a firm that was really helping out build the arena there for, the Clippers and for the owner there and for Steve Ballmer. They've put that thing on hiatus right now until this aspiration investigation ends up really coming up and people finding out what really is being done behind the scenes here. JY, I mean, is there a potential here that the commissioner could come in, Adam Silver, and say, we're going to void the contract of Kawhi Leonard for some shady deals behind the scenes and make this guy a free agent, and he pretty much could go out and pick his own team? Is there a chance that could happen?
Big Sil's always a pleasure, my brother, to come on with you. And yeah, I mean, listen, what they basically are trying to say is that the Clippers circumvented the salary cap, meaning using the endorsement, almost like a no-show endorsement, to enable Kawhi to go to the Clippers. You got to remember, Kawhi was with Toronto, won the championship, and that's where it gets kind of murky here. So to me, and it's interesting that he's doing it now, Big Sills, because if he does this now, Big Sills, everyone is signed. All the free agent money is gone. So now, at the end of the day, you void the contract. So this is not like someone getting bought out or released when they get their money. Kawhi loses his money, and then he goes into the free agency. Big Sills, all you have are vet minimums and mid-level exceptions. So you're talking about a guy that could make $50, $60 million a year, making $2, $3, $4, $5 million. So to me, it's really one of these situations where Adam Silver has to step up here and kind of see where they're going with what they're going to do here with this. So it's very interesting. Steve Ballmer is, I do believe, is the richest owner in the NBA. You're talking about impacting the second biggest media market in the country in LA. So now everything's at a standstill. Toronto, a team that they get Kawhi Leonard in a trade that included Brandon Ingram, now could vault themselves into the top 4, top 5 conversation in the Eastern Conference if they void the deal. And there's the other side of it. If they void the deal, how do you look at B.I. and say, we want you back? B.I. is going to go say, screw you. You just tried to trade me. So to me, there's a lot of dominoes here that has to drop, and it's going to really impact the top of the NBA.
Absolutely here. Help me out and make me understand this. Why would Wembanyama take the lesser of the Supermax deal, where if he took the 30%, he would get the Supermax and he would get more? Obviously, I think it would be over $300 million. Instead, he ended up taking the 252, and it ends up saving really the Spurs money. Is he being a team-friendly guy here, trying to help build the roster and keep the roster intact, or am I just being delusional on that here?
Jalen Brunson. He did it first. When Jalen Brunson took the $113 million less, and let me explain to people how it works. What Brunson did and what Wemby's just doing is they're just signing their extension 1 year early. If they waited another year, they get more money. So what that does is that frees up flexibility for San Antonio to keep that young core together, because they got to think about it. Castle, right? What do you do when Dylan Harper? You just re-signed Champagnie. You have Fox. You have Carter Bryant, the second-year guy, right? You just drafted Tyrese Reed, the big man, out of UConn. It allows them to kind of keep this together. What Jalen Brunson did, folks, is he broke the mold. And this is why the Knicks won the championship, because he took less money in regard to signing his extension early to try and position his team for long-term success. Wemby is doing the same thing, and you must give a guy credit. Now, there's one other caveat, folks, that you have to remember about Texas. No state income taxes. So he's going to maybe save San Antonio money, but he's not getting hit like he was in California or in New York. He's going to save money that way as well. And then the endorsements, Wemby's, people talk about him being the best player in the world right now. He's going to make up all that money and more in endorsements the same way Brunson's making it all up in New York City.
I had a conversation last week with Kevin Walsh, and I happen to know JJ Redick very well. And he kind of got on my rear end a little bit for something I brought up last week. And I'm going to bring it up to you, and you tell me if I'm crazy, Coach. So I said one of the reasons that LeBron got pushed out of Los Angeles was because of Rob Pelinka. You know, after they gave Reeves that contract and that extension, it didn't seem that there was a real welcome mat back there for LeBron and for Maverick Carter and those guys. And the word is that LeBron and those guys wanted 2 years at $50 million annually, and they wanted a victory parade out the door. And Rob Pelinka reportedly said, "Who do you think you are, Kobe Bryant?" And that was one of the reasons that pushed him out the door. Coach, is that just hyperbole, or are we looking at something there where Rob Pelinka, again, he was never really embraced as a Laker, in my opinion. Maybe you thought he was, but, you know, I don't see him as Shaq, Kobe, or those kind of players that rolled in there. Do you?
Well, here's the funny thing. Don't get our guy K-Dub all fired up about LeBron. that conversation could go left really, really quick. But let's put it this way. He was never considered he was considered a guy like Allen Guy. And you got to remember, the Lakers were a no one, a terrible franchise until LeBron went there. I don't care, bubble or not. A chip is a chip. It's hard to get. And he's got to be respected for that. But because of the years he's been there, because of the fact that the Lakers really haven't been overly competitive the last couple of years in regards to being at the top of the Western Conference, he's kind of getting a mark against him. Big Sills, it didn't start with the Austin Reeves extension. It started with the trade of Luka Doncic. And the Lakers looked and said, we have to find our superstar for the future at the end of LeBron's career. I'm going to say this. There is immense, and I mean immense pressure on Luka. All right? You go down the line from Jerry West to Wilt, to Kareem, to Magic, to Worthy, to Shaq, to Kobe, to LeBron. You better bring a ring to LA, or they'll talk about you way worse than LeBron.
Absolutely. All those guys brought championships in the Larry O'Brien Trophy to Los Angeles. We're going to talk some WNBA next with J-Rock. More with JY here on SportsGrid here. And before we get into the WNBA mess that's going on here, I do want to ask you, because we were just talking a little bit off air here. I mean, where do you think he lands, LeBron James? You think it's going to be Philadelphia? Do you think it's Cleveland? Or do you potentially think it could be the Miami Heat with Pat Riley?
To me, if he wants legacy, and I think LeBron's a legacy guy, I think he's got to go to Philly. I mean, now listen, you know better than I do, Big Sills. It's different. I mean, geez, they booed Santa Claus. They cheered Michael over when he thought he was paralyzed. I mean, they are lethal in the Philadelphia for a reason. But if he goes to Philadelphia, a team that hasn't won a championship since the 83 Sixers, a team that hasn't been to the finals since 01, a fan base that's as wild and crazy as me and the New York Knicks fan base. If he goes there, that's another place. Remember, he's been 4 franchises. He's won championships in every single one. I don't think going back to Cleveland does it, right? He's already done it in Miami. You go to Philadelphia, an iconic franchise, hasn't won in over, almost 50 years, 40 some odd years. You go win there, Big Sills. It's a different kind of narrative in that GOAT conversation, isn't it?
You bet it is then. You're talking last 2 championships were 67 and 83. You put another one there and LeBron brings, it'd be like the Cubs winning the World Series if you win the NBA championship in Philadelphia. All right, let's go over to the WNBA mess. You think Kathy Engelbert, the commissioner of the league, should be fired?
What is that like? What do you put the ball? Wait a minute, Sills, you put the ball on the tee for me? Of course he needs to be fired. We talked about this, and we've talked about it time and time again. Kathy Engelbert should have been ran out of this league years ago. I mean, listen, she gets booed. You think Adam Silver gets booed or Roger Goodell gets booed at the draft? They boo this lady every damn word she goes. And she continues to mess up. For what she did to Dan Patrick is so disrespectful and so beneath the office of the commissioner. You hide behind, ready for this? Your PR team? That's why you don't come on? No, Kathy Engelbert. It's very simple. Your league, which is for the first time making money, after you almost tried to ruin the season by hiding your books, now you got this whole Caitlin Clark mess. And I said it. I came on this area in the last couple weeks, and I said it. And I'm going to double, I'm going to triple down. You may disagree. I don't care, folks. It's about race. It's about a political pawn. It's about sexual preference. And it's about a league that has a cash cow and it can't answer questions. You got referees that don't make enough money. You got all the players upset with what's going on in the league. And you have a chance to go on national TV and fix it. And you know what you do? You go into your damn foxhole and go into hiding. You tell me, Kathy, how is running away from Dan Patrick, getting away with the problem? You went supposedly on a radio show, supposedly in Kansas City, and you said you could talk WNBA expansion, and that's it. You don't want to talk about Caitlin Clark? With all due respect, Kathy Engelbert, if you don't start talking about this situation and how you're going to fix this league, forget the whole WNBA expansion. There may not be a league left by then. Kathy, do yourself a favor. You know what? The coach says with JY, but I'll gladly have you on. Come interview with me. I'll throw you a couple of softballs, but then you may get a Randy Johnson up and in because I'm going to bring the heat just like Dan Patrick will.
Let me ask you this, where the NBA's position is. 42% ownership they have in that league. 42 ownership percentage-wise when it comes to the owners of the WNBA, and investors have around 18%. JY, where is people? Where are the people here? Does she answer to the to the NBA? Why isn't the NBA now getting involved? Should Adam Silver now get involved? Maybe he should be the commissioner of the league.
Well, he's got enough issues dealing with the NBA, but there was times where they were going to step into negotiations last year. Big Sills, I'm going to say this. You got a better chance of James Young being commissioner of the WNBA next year than Kathy Engelbert. If she's the commissioner, we got really big problems, or they're hiding something in that league.
Absolutely, man. I mean, you've got all this, and now you got the GOP, getting involved, saying that the Department of Justice is going to get involved with all that stuff from how she's being treated. 1,000%. When I'm behind you here, JY. There's no question here that right now the WNBA is in a position where they're just leaderless. They need to get somebody in there to really give them an absolute leadership boost because this league here is making money for the first time.
I'll do
JY.
it for free. I'll do it for free.
That is JY there. Appreciate you, my friend. We'll see you again. Rob Donaldson will talk to Major League Baseball next right here on SportsGrid. Man, it's really cool that the All-Star game is right around the corner. Some bad news, though, for Major League Baseball fans. I don't believe you're going to get a chance to see Shohei Ohtani. But before we get into the All-Star game, Rob Donaldson joins us now here. And Rob, is the biggest story you think in the first half of the season? It's got to be these 55-win Rays, no? There they are, 4 games up in the American League East over the Yankees. I know the Yankees don't have Aaron Judge in the lineup here, but you can't tell me that a $300 million payroll versus a $106 million payroll, you can't still hold the lead here a little bit, at least in the American League. Are they the story, or would you think the White Sox are more of a story?
Man, I think the story of the American League is how bad it is, to be honest with you. I mean, you look at across the board and you look at teams that we were very hyped about. The Royals, the Red Sox, the Orioles, the Tigers, they're lining the bottom of this American League. So that, to me, that's kind of the story. But to your point, there's multiple storylines within the American League, right? The Rays playing this small ball, longest tenured head coach in terms of, Kevin Cash, and they're just out there doing the thing. And the question will become, when it comes to the trade deadline, are the Rays finally going to add? Because they just never have, right? And even with the White Sox, for example, who are third in the AL standings, I don't know if they're going to add. And the fourth team in the AL standings, the Cleveland Guardians, they've been another team that has just never added at the trade deadline. Are any of these teams outside of the Yankees going to be buyers? I think ultimately that's probably my biggest storyline.
If you think about it, the worst team in baseball right now, I just looked it up here, is 9 games out in the American League. Think about that from a playoff spot. You're talking that's just to win the division. Wild card, You're 6 games out for you potentially being. So, do you think there's going to be a lot of movement come August 3rd? Or do you think maybe teams are going to go like even Detroit? Scribble's name was brought up a lot of potentially being dealt at the trading deadline. But if you're within reach of a wild card spot, you think that's going to propel teams to maybe pull back and go, hey, hang in here, man. I'm not going to be as active as I thought on being a seller.
Absolutely. I think this is going to be a very, very weird trade deadline for the AL. And I think we're going to see the kind of the regular faces in the mix, right? We've seen the Texas Rangers, for example, when they were below 500, make moves for Merrill Kelly, go out and try to acquire starting pitching, just players to make a push, even though they were outside of the picture. Now, they're literally in the top of their division with a 500 record. And the question becomes, are they just going to be a consistent buyer every single year? Kind of like the Yankees, kind of like the Dodgers, where they don't really value the prospect market. They know they're going to spend, they're willing to spend. They're going to go out there and they're going to acquire pieces and spend on those pieces. I tend to think, yes, I think that's who the Rangers are now. So when you're talking about a team that could be just a natural ascender, when you're talking about the second half of Major League Baseball, I tend to think it's going to be the Texas Rangers, but kind of to your point, when you're talking about the Toronto Blue Jays, the Red Sox, the Astros, the Twins, a lot of those teams that are aligning the middle, I really don't think that there's going to be a lot of buying. I think there's going to be actually some tentative selling within that mix. So yeah, the AL is just in entirely disarray, and the teams at the top are not buyers. The teams in the middle are not sellers or buyers. It's going to make it for a very weird market.
I'm going to probably I'm going to go all Yankee fan here on you. And I want you to help me out on Aaron Boone and Brian Cashman, the general manager of the team. I mean, it's been over a decade. I mean, how is that guy still the general manager? And how is Aaron Boone still the manager of the New York Yankees? God rest the soul of George Steinbrenner, who I knew very well when he lived in Tampa. I got to tell you, Rob, I mean, I think sometimes these extra wild card rounds, I think they kind of cloud Yankee fans' judgment. Well, we win. Not really. It used to be where they hung, World Series pennants, not just American League East pennants. How come the standard has dropped there in New York? And it just seems to be business as usual. Hey, we'll win 90-plus games. Hey, we'll get knocked out in a playoff series. Hey, we'll make it to the series, but not be good enough. How does he keep his job?
It's a great question, and I don't have a great answer for you, honestly, because the Yankees play bad baseball. When you watch this team game by game, they live and die by hitting short porch home runs is kind of what it feels like. And if they're not hitting those home runs on a given day, it doesn't matter if Max Fried, Garrett Cole, Will Warren, whoever else is on the mound goes out there and shoves. They're just not scoring runs. They can't play small ball. They don't look energetic. When you're watching the Rays and the Yankees in terms of just kind of that series in a vacuum, it felt like you're watching two different just organizations and their approaches, because one team was trying to steal bags. The other team didn't even have a guy who could run to first base. So that's ultimately, when I watch the Yankees and the Padres, for example, I feel the exact same way. A lot of, investment in free agents. That's the approach, right? Trade away all the prospects, go out and acquire the big names, get the draw that's going to make Yankees fans excited for that little moment in the offseason or at the trade deadline, but it's not really conducive to playoff success or just being a winning baseball team. That's kind of where I feel like the Yankees are right now is, hey, we want to make the headline in the moment, but not really kind of win long term. And they're kind of stuck in that purgatory position right now.
I want to go to the Dodgers here with Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, his knee swelled up a little bit, so we're not going to get a chance to see him in the All-Star game. Moving forward, in your opinion, the Dodgers, is he going to be more beneficial to the Dodgers on the hill or in the batter's box?
100% in the batter's box. We've seen this Dodgers, and ultimately, we're going to see what this team looks like post-trade deadline, because the Dodgers, every single trade deadline, are one of those aggressive grabbers. And right now with Glasnow, with Blake Snell on the IL, it's another year of kind of the same old when you're talking about attrition at the pitching position. I feel like they're going to go out there and acquire pitching. So right now, as it currently stands, I think his actually ultimate value is, hey, if you can throw him out there in game one as a pitcher, yeah, you want him to go out there and shut down the lineup for 6 or 7 innings post trade deadline. I don't necessarily think they're going to go out there and acquire a lot of bats. I think they're going to go out there and acquire a lot of pitching. And so his bat is ultimately what's going to win this team the World Series. So it's kind of an evolving thing. 162 plus games. They're talking about adding in the playoffs. That's baseball in a nutshell. But yeah, right now, as it currently stands, pitching is his most valuable asset to the team. Down the line, I would say it's probably going to be hitting.
Almost 100 years since there's been a three-peat in the National League here. Hey, what do you think the fallout may be with this FanDuel and this DraftKings with Bryce Harper? You know, I'm calling it the modern day tobacco ads that, you know, you keep saying that. You know, I know it turned out to be there's a third party with Cameo being involved in this, but still, do you think there's going to be any collateral damage with this guy who bet over $2 million and lost his home and all this, was talking suicide? You think Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred take a look at this more serious?
I think so, because I mean, what's hilarious is, you know, I turned on the Phillies game last night and they're advertising Alec Boehm to hit a home run plus 725 for DraftKings. And it's like, this is so ingrained into the fabric of the sport right now. You go and turn on a game, and whether it's on FanDuel Sports Network or it's on, you know, just showing you odds on a player to get a hit in that given at bat, it's just so embodied. And eventually the bad PR that comes with gambling, because of course there's bad PR and bad things that come from this industry. Yeah, eventually it's going to kind of rise to the surface and it's going to need to be addressed. How they address it, I'm not entirely sure, but it's going to come to a head where it just kind of can't run unkept in that kind of way.
No way. No, I'm with you. I mean, you're in a position right now where it's become, like you said, part of the fabric of sports. Also, the National Football League is also knee deep in this. We're going to talk more with Rob Donaldson next. The All-Star game in Philadelphia. We'll hit on that. We'll do that next right here on SportsGrid.
I know you didn't. Talk.
I'm innocent.
Got the wrong guy. It wasn't me. I didn't do anything. Okay, it was me. I did it.
Bringing an owl to an interrogation? That's a power move.
Every time. Yeah.
Hiring America's largest injury law firm for your injury? That's also a power move. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury...
More with Rob Donaldson. We're talking Major League Baseball here on SportsGrid, and I'm gonna take a page out of the World Cup, and I've been having conversation each weekend with a lot of folks covering Major League Baseball. Why not do this, Rob, to get more excitement in the game? Have the American players versus the international players. We saw what it looked like when it came to the World Baseball Classic. Why not have that every year at the All-Star break, where you have the world versus the American baseball team? I mean, put those teams together like that. I think you'd have a hell of a game, and I think you'd have a hell of a showing, and maybe the ratings would increase there for the All-Star game because, quite frankly, the All-Star game, because of interleague play, I think it's been diluted a little bit. Would that be something maybe that Rob Manfred and those guys would take a look at, especially with the success we're seeing with the World Cup?
Well, I think Rob Manfred is very behind the times, so I don't think he'll ever pull the trigger, but I think you're 100% right, where if you look at the NHL, right, everybody was tuned into the four nations face-off. It wasn't even a question. When United States versus Canada was going on, yes, the argument can be made that even though it drives ratings at a pivotal point in the season for that league, maybe it doesn't necessarily send the correct, narrative or feeling that the sport is trying to entertain, right? Like division, country versus country. Maybe that's not necessarily what Major League Baseball or hockey is necessarily wanting to put out there, but it drives the views, right? Like everybody would tune in to see Mike Trout versus Shohei Ohtani again, and having Mike Trout hit a home run in kind of that revenge scenario from the World Baseball Classic in the middle of the season. I would 100% tune in. I think you're 100% right. Do I think it ever happens? Absolutely not.
Are you? Yeah, because he's not that progressive of a thinker, Rob Manfred,
No.
the commissioner of Major League Baseball. Correct there. Hey, do you enjoy the home run derby? Kyle Schwarber now, obviously the hometown guy who's got, I think, like 30 some odd home runs, is on pace for like 68 home runs. Can't hit his body weight though, Rob, but he's there with the home runs for sure. I mean, do you enjoy the home run derby?
I kind of enjoyed the old style of the home run derby because when so many balls are flying out the yard, it's almost like nowadays with the timer, I can't even keep track. Like, did he just swing? I have no idea, but a ball is flying in the air. Like, to me, I loved seeing the Barry Bonds-esque type style where he's posing for the home run after every single shot. I enjoyed that. That was a good image. I know that it was slower paced and some fans tuned out after, the whatever first round or maybe the first 10 balls, but I enjoyed when there was a kind of a statuesque visual that we had of every single home run shot. Nowadays, it's just all right, they're beaming line drives into this crowd of fans. Hopefully somebody doesn't get popped in the head.
Hey, I would like to have an old timers home run derby. You get Bonds, McGuire, and Sosa and them dudes back in there. Put them in the All-Star game. I'm ready to rock here. Hey, some other thing that were kind of frontline stories in the first half of the season was the ABS. Do you like what's happened? Do you think it's been a beneficial thing for baseball in speeding up the games?
Yeah, in terms of game speed, I don't necessarily know if it's a net red or net positive in terms of kind of, the acceleration of the game time. But I will say this in terms of why I love it. It holds players accountable. You can't really complain about, a strike call that didn't go your way or a ball call that you thought should have been a ball but ended up being a strike. You can argue it. You have the ability to do so. And if you can't argue it because you ran out of challenges, well, that's your team's fault to become more accountable for learning the zone. Same thing with the umpires behind the plate, because now, I don't know if you saw the report earlier this week, but a lot of, umpires are taking that early retirement bonus because they are at the bottom of Major League Baseball in terms of calling accurate balls and strikes. Finally, I feel like we're weeding out some of these old guys who just really can't call the zone correctly. And yeah, I think ABS is honestly a really good accountability factor for the sport.
I'm going to go back to a team we mentioned earlier, and that's the Chicago White Sox. This was an organization that was supposed to be the worst team in the American League. Now, you made the point earlier, there's a lot of bad teams, a lot of bad baseball going on in the American League right now, but Sox have to be a storyline of both Chicago teams. I mean, here's both Chicago teams with the potential of maybe getting into the postseason here, but this White Sox team has been a surprise in the first half.
100%. They've been actually my favorite team to watch outside of my favorite team, the St. Louis Cardinals. And in large part, they're kind of the same identity where they just said, hey, we're going to throw a lot of young guys and exuberance and energy into these lineups and these rotations, and we're just going to see what happens. And what has happened is a lot of these young guys have kind of seen that opportunity as hey, this is my career. This is what been wanting to do since I was a kid. I'm not paid. I'm not paid like the Bryce Harpers, Manny Machados, Fernando Tatises of the world. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to grind. I'm going to run to first base on every single grounder. I'm going to make chaos happen. That's who the White Sox are. When you watch them 1 through 9, there's not a hitter in that lineup on any given day, whether you're talking about Tristan Peters, who was a Savannah banana 3 years ago. I look at just the energy, the excitement, the fun that they're having, and that's what ultimately baseball should be like in every single clubhouse. But you watch the Yankees, who are second in the AL right now, and everything, it feels like you're just like watching like a funeral service. It just kind of feels like, nope, everybody's checked out. Everybody's in it for themselves. The White Sox are not. The Cardinals are not. Heck, even the Pittsburgh Pirates are not. A lot of young teams right now in Major League Baseball are kind of making their way, and I love to see it personally.
How in God's name are the Brewers a 59-win baseball team? Outside of Christian Yelich, right? What is it, the division? Is it the way that they run that organization? You talk about Moneyball down in Tampa. Here's another version of it, right? In Milwaukee, every year they're in the conversation. How?
Yeah, no, it's exactly. I think you nailed it when you're talking about comparing them to Tampa. They play the small ball. They have energy. They have a mixture of veterans and youthful guys, and they have really great pitching every single year. I know this is a Cardinals fan being so aggravated by watching the Brewers just be successful year over year over year. They just like materialize pitching out of nowhere. They make a trade with the Red Sox for their scraps and they turn them into an ace. Like, that's who the Brewers are. Quinn Priester, last year as well, who hasn't even pitched this season. So yeah, the Brewers just have a very high floor. Will they ever have that high upside ceiling to actually win a World Series? I don't know, but absolutely they're one of the teams that's just always going to win in baseball.
I would like to get your thoughts on the Queens Mets, but I don't know. They're just this may be the worst team that money could buy. And this goes back to that mid-90s team, right? They are just not getting it done. Rob, appreciate you coming aboard. I'll get your thoughts on the Queens Mets next time. I appreciate it. Sileo says, thank you.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Sileo. Only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, he's driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy, crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
You know, there's a phrase, being born on third base. Well, that applies here to the owner of the Carolina Hurricanes, and that is Tom Dundon. So let me get this right here. He put 6 of his family members on the Stanley Cup, where you're only allowed 41 names. Unmet, actually, you're allowed 55 names, excuse me. And get this, 55 guys are allowed to be on the Cup, and you have to play a total of 41 games if you're traded or you're signed for that respected team if you end up going on and winning the Stanley Cup. So the owner of the Hurricanes decided to put his family on. Why is this a bad precedent? Dude, you know, I know a year ago you had the Florida Panthers who won the Stanley Cup, and there were family names from the family that ended up going on and winning the Stanley Cup. But they all had jobs that were inside the Florida Panther organization. This is a scenario where he just put his kids on before even the players, the coaches, anybody that was involved in the organization. These guys had nothing to do with winning the Stanley Cup, one of the most cherished trophies in all of North American sports. In my opinion, it's the greatest trophy in all of North American sports. You talk about being born on third base. Dude, I get it. There's perks on owning a football team, a hockey team, a Major League Baseball team. But what about something for the players? Every single kid, every single man that works or that plays in the NHL strives to get their name on that Stanley Cup. There's been so many legendary players that didn't have the opportunity ever to get their name put on that Stanley Cup. And when they eventually did, like a Ray Bork, who got his name on the cup, you saw the emotions on what it meant for being involved in the NHL, putting all the work in, putting all the heart, putting all the desire in to have your name on one of the most hallowed cups and one of the most hallowed trophies in all of North American sports. And to sit there and see a guy bastardize it is incredible. But here we are in today's sports. And again, if you're born on third base, you get to do things like this. You get to trash all kinds of things and change all kinds of narratives when it comes to, hey, I own the team. I can do whatever I want. Again, there's nothing really left for the players here. And now what you've done is you've sold your soul. You know, we had a scenario like this with that scumbag, Nevin Shapiro, down at the University of Miami, where we ended up selling a guy being able to run through the smoke, and it aggravated the living hell out of me when I saw that scumbag Podensey guy being sold and giving an opportunity to write a check to the University of Miami so that that guy could run through the tunnel. And when Nevin Shapiro did that, in my opinion, it absolutely tarnished the University of Miami and what we're doing here and what we did there. So I had a problem with that. Players get an opportunity to be able to have some of the greatest things happen for them when you're going after a championship. Hey, going and playing for a championship, my friends, it's a team atmosphere. You're in it together. You go with the struggles. You live together for over 6-7 months of the season, and you're all rowing in the same direction. To sit there and see the Carolina Hurricane owner put his 6 members and his family on the cup before anybody that's on that team that ended up going on and winning a Stanley Cup and helping that Carolina Hurricane team like a Rob Brindamore win it is absolutely shameful. Again, there's nothing left for the players, and I get it. You're born on third base. You get to change the game. You get to change the narrative. You get to do all those type of things, and you get to have that kind of scenario for you and your family. That's not what I would look at as something that the players who ended up going out and putting their heart and soul into something. Hey, winning a championship, I will tell you this, having won a couple myself, every single teammate that I played with at the University of Miami, we look back on each other and our journey and what we went through, and it was a close-knit fraternity. It's not open to everyone. Those locker rooms are not open to having outsiders come in when you're doing such a thing like that, winning a championship. Because you know why? You got so many people on the outside saying this. You can't do it. You won't get it done. There's no chance of you winning a championship. There's no opportunity for you to be able to get it done. And you know what happens at the end of the day? I'm fortunate to have won 2 championships at the University of Miami. And you know what? We are close to this day as we were 40 years ago because we were on a journey together. No outsiders. We shared it with our fans on the parades and all. Being a champion and being on a championship team is one of the greatest things you could ever have happen in your life. It's a close-knit group that you're bonded forever, and you can't sell that. You can't pawn that off. That's something that can't be sold. It just can't be. One of my great friends, and he has done such a spectacular job for Fox covering the World Cup. He's my friend Rob Stone. He's back here on SportsGrid.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Sileo. Only on SportsGrid.
This is the 3rd time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the Ghana goalie's done. He's on the jumping. He's on the turf, like you said. Like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
Boy, I'll tell you what, man, the coverage by Fox has been insane. And by the way, I love the desk that they have there with Rob Stone and the guys. I mean, it's been just an incredible run here. And Rob Stone from Fox Sports joins us now here. Rob, how impressed have you been with the ratings and how places like Kansas City, San Diego, I mean, all these cities across the country with massive ratings, have you been surprised?
Not really. You know, Kansas City and San Diego, just for those examples, they've long been great American soccer markets. I don't think people realize it. But when the numbers come out for all the big soccer events, those cities are always popping up there big time. You know, we've got some really intelligent people behind the scenes at Fox who, I wouldn't say they predict things, but they analyze the numbers, right? And they give you like, hey, this is what we're estimating, and this is what it could be. And I think they lowballed this World Cup. I think they might have done it on purpose, but I remember looking at the gentleman when he gave me what he was, I can't remember what the number was. I feel like it's like 120 million or something. I'm like, we're going to crush it. Like, we're going to crush it. Like, this country is ready for the World Cup. They are ready to embrace it. They love these summer events. People are going to turn up in record numbers because A, they care about the sport more than they did, let's say, in 1994. And B, the FOMO factor in the United States is off the charts. Nobody does FOMO like the U.S. So you put those things together, and this great summer event, and all these stars, whether they're in their prime or on the last call or just beginning their run, I think it was just this kind of like perfect storm for massive numbers. So I'm not surprised, but I'm certainly happy.
You know, the buildup for the game against Belgium was obviously well done and well deserved, but the letdown was obviously something after the fact. And there's a lot of collateral damage going around and there's a lot of blame game going around. Just your overall synopsis here, Rob, and what you witnessed building it up and what happened the after fact and the collateral damage that we're now seeing with a lot of blaming going around. Your takeaway on it.
Yeah, I'm not a big blame game guy. I understand it. I know that's where people tend to go. I'm a half full guy, and I think this is a realistic, calm half full, that there were just so many wins for U.S. soccer this summer. To your point, though, the way it ended, the optics of it, the feelings that you walk away from definitely hurt. The good news, over 30 million people watched that game. If the bad news, over 30 million people watch the U.S. play, one of their worst games on the biggest stage they maybe have ever been on. So that part was frustrating. But overall, I reflect back on the lead up to this World Cup. They played the second day of this tournament, had this lights out start versus Paraguay, and it was a rocket ship that was ignited. And it wasn't just this team that was playing really entertaining, attractive soccer. People realized it. They said, this is a fun team to watch, whether I'm a soccer fan or not. And so many more people, when I say so many more, I'm talking millions, Dan, came under the World Cup tent and felt welcome and safe there and wanted to explore it. And what goes on over here and what does that mean? And that was kind of like their gateway drug to watching how amazing France is and what Spain does and learning the difference maybe between South American style of soccer and what the Europeans do. So in the end, I think this country rallied around this team when frankly we probably needed a nice clean rallying point. There's so many more millions of fans on board right now who genuinely care about the team and the sport. So for me, I think the U.S. men's national team off the field 100% delivered. On the field, I always felt, Dan, that the round of 16 was kind of that threshold. That was kind of the point that we had to get to, but it was also the point that I felt like, I don't know if we can get past it. Getting to the quarterfinals would have been amazing. We've only played one quarterfinal match in World Cup history. That was 2002. We're never going to have this type of home field advantage for this generation again. We had a lot of things stacked in our favor. So that part and the way it ended, certainly disappointing. But overall, Dan, I'm thrilled. It's not done yet. There's still, two more quarterfinal games to be played today, a third place game, semifinals, championship game. So there's still a lot more soccer, a lot more growth to happen. But in the end, this was an absolute positive for U.S. soccer.
You know what? And Rob, you, of course, you're legendary on the weekends with Fox College Football too. And I'm gonna put a college football analogy in here, and you tell me if I'm on with this. Being in those big games all the time, when you're France or you're Argentina or like you're Alabama or you're Ohio State, there's something about being in those games. And when America's not in those games like that, when one of those games pops up, all of a sudden you're in the spotlight for the first time. And on top of that, getting the right Jimmies and Joes. I don't care who the coach is. If you don't have the Jimmies and Joes, you're not going to win championships here. Do you agree? That's kind of where we are right now with U.S.
good.
soccer. We need more Jimmies and Joes, right?
I like the Jimmies and Joes. Yeah, that one's made me smile. Listen, there's still a gulf in the talent department, right? And I think that's the biggest thing that we learned about the U.S. team on the field is that we just don't have enough, to your point, Jimmys and Joes, right? We got some Sams and we got some Daves, but we need some real Jimmys and we need some Joes, right? And that's not just the starting 11, and I'm not trying to make fun of it, but it's, we need depth, and depth wins tournaments. Depth wins, championships, whether it's college football, NFL, NBA, or whatever. It's not just 5 dudes that are out there on the NBA court winning you a title. You need that 6th, 7th, 8th guy, right? So we don't have that yet. I think that was the thing that became very apparent. And that was frustrating because when you watch the first 3, maybe 4 games, you're like, hey, we do have the talent. But then when the big boys come up, and this has always been that problem. This has always been that roadblock for U.S. soccer, a big boy, whether that's Belgium, who I wouldn't even consider a big boy. But, we got to beat these teams. We got to take care of the Englands and the Brazils and the Argentinas and the Spains and the Frances of the world. And frankly, we don't get enough opportunities to play them. It's really hard to schedule these teams in this day and age. So to that point, it kind of goes to your college football analogy. It felt like Tulane getting into the college football playoff. Hooray, we did it. We're here. Oh, who do we have? And where are we playing that game? Uh-oh. Things get real fast. So our talent pool has to increase the next 4 years, and this is something I would have said in '94 as well. Like, we've got to get better players and we've got to get more of them. And I don't know what that solution is, because people have been trying and they're out there. But again, I think the biggest impediment is the dilution of our athletes. There's so many different places to go, and soccer is not in everybody's DNA. You are not born with that like you are in other countries like Uruguay or Brazil or Argentina. You come out of the womb, you're a soccer person, right? This is it. Like, mom and dad and your brothers and sisters and your aunts and uncles and the crazy cousins and the grandpas and the grandmas, this is what they're watching. This is what they're talking about. This is what they're feeling. They don't need to pay for a travel team, to be on. They just go out into the yard or into the street and play. We don't have enough of that in the United States. And when we get that, when we find that, when we locate it, that's when we start creating our own Messis. And that's what we need. We need an American Messi really bad.
How about this too, Rob? I mean, momentum. I say this all the time about the American broadcaster, and I'm one of these guys. Kevin Frazier gives me a ton of crap about it for not being educated enough in soccer, and I'm one of these guys too. 4-year momentum. Do you think there's any momentum how much momentum will be carried to the next 4 years? Will we have more in the middle? Because don't you agree, Rob? The gap from 4 years to another 4 years, that also is the problem with the identity of soccer in America.
Well, that's only for the World Cup identity. Listen, soccer is being played nonstop. Anywhere you go on the globe, you're going to find soccer pretty much every day, 12 months out of the year. People love the sport. There are leagues that are playing it, that are getting ramped up, ready to go. Major League Soccer is ready to play again. So I understand your point about the 4-year gap, right? That's the 4-year gap in between World Cups. And the World Cup is the absolute, that's the goal. That's the apex. It doesn't get any higher than that. But top level soccer is being played year round, whether it's on the club level, the younger national team levels, Gold Cups, Euros, Copa America, things like that. But again, to your point, Dan, it what really only matters is winning the damn World Cup and making a show every 4 years. So I think there is momentum off the field, on the field, like getting these players, finding these players. That's the real silver bullet that we need to locate.
Absolutely. Our great friends at Morgan & Morgan Moore with Rob Stone here. The #1 injury law firm in all of America for a reason, folks. They are #1. Go to forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. That's forthepeople.com/big sales or pound law 529. And do me a favor. You tell them Big Sales sent you. We're going to talk more with Rob, and we're going to talk about Messi. We're going to talk about the upcoming games here. And can anyone stop France? We'll do that next. Right here on SportsGrid.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one to elevate you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Sileo, only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done. He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day, de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
Man, I'll tell you what, like Rob Stone has said, covering Fox and soccer right now with the World Cup, the numbers have been just over the top here. And some of the teams are starting to separate themselves right now. And Rob Stone joins us again here. And Rob, can anyone stop France?
No. I mean, I don't think so. You know, Spain is going to give it their best effort Tuesday in Dallas with that first semifinal, and what a matchup that is. I mean, that's amazing stuff. And you know, I listen, France is beatable, but my money is always going to be on France. That's where my money was before this tournament started. They've done nothing to show me that I should pull away from them. They've got depth, they've got talent. You know, they've got kind of like an Ocean's 11 cast. You know, you see George Clooney, you're like, all right, they're pretty good. And then you're like, oh wait, there's Brad Pitt, and there's Matt Damon, there's Don Cheadle, and oh, Julia Roberts is swinging by here. And you're like, well, why would I not watch this team? Why would I not invest in this team? So, yeah, France is my Ocean's 11, dream team, and they've got so much talent, and it's more than just Kylian Mbappe, but what Kylian Mbappe is doing, he is the leading man. He is that blockbuster guy. He is bringing people to the box office. And, I made this parallel to somebody the other day. If you just took a non-soccer fan and plucked them in a stadium or dropped them in front of the television and France was playing, and you would just go, hey, who's the best player out there, right? Who's the talent that your eye is drawn to? And they would all go, that guy, yeah, Mbappe right there, that Kylian, however you want to pronounce it. And I don't know if you pronounce the M or the not, but whatever, the Mbappe guy. Yeah, Kylian Mbappe has been at an absolute different level, as have others, by the way, like what Lionel Messi is doing at 39 and what Erling Haaland has done as a young man, carrying this Norway team to these great heights and really enjoying his stay in America has been amazing. But for me, France is the team to beat. I give them a slight edge over Spain. Spain has the ability. Spain can possess it. Spain can knock it around. They've only allowed one goal this tournament. They don't get flustered. They're comfortable with the ball at their feet. They're comfortable controlling the game. But I don't think anybody can be comfortable when Kylian Mbappe is coming at you.
Norway, England, for you, this is another one of those intriguing matchups here. I mean, you've got great players on both sides here. Who are you leaning towards here in this one?
England, just because I think they have greater depth. Again, we talked about that point. You just need more talent to win at this type of level and get through a tournament. And I think England has that. They've been tested. I mean, going to Mexico City and taking care of Mexico in a World Cup knockout stage game, that is an accomplishment. And they did it down a man for an extended period as well. So I think England is the favorite in that one. But nobody's going to be sad if it's Norway and Erling Haaland continues this run and what he's done. And he's become a lot of people's favorite soccer player this summer. And a lot of it's what he's done, obviously, on the field. His goal scoring rate is tremendous, his look, but his embrace of this moment. He's not overwhelmed. He's not shy about it. Messi bangs a hat trick and he's posting something about Messi is the GOAT. You see him trying on cowboy boots and eating weird American foods. Like I half wouldn't expect to walk into Costco later today and see him just roaming the aisles and staring at large things and like, why do I need this much baked beans and toilet paper? But let's do it. So he's been fascinating, but I think England is the safer bet today.
I'm going to go to Messi, and we get Michelle Kaufman on from the Miami Herald all the time. She's a dear friend of mine. She said she's had 7 minutes of him in interviewing him when he's down at Inter Miami. He doesn't do interviews. He's not really a media guy. And I got to tell you, Rob, one thing that this World Cup did for me about Lionel Messi, I'm like, that guy's a modern day Ali, sports-wise. Yeah. I'm not talking about off and out of the ring. I'm talking about you could put him anywhere on the planet and you know who that guy is. So for one thing, I think the American fan has been kind of, embraced with now is you know who this guy is. He's the greatest athlete in the world, isn't he?
Yeah, he is something special. And I think people have even gotten over the fact, Dan, that if you're watching Argentina play and you just decide to put your eyeballs on him, which is not the worst decision, by the way, because I've caught myself many a time doing that, just staring at him. Like, what is he doing in this moment? And there's a lot of walking around, but it's not anger or disgust or frustration with his teammates. It's It's watching, it's scanning, it's seeing, it's calibrating, it's seeing, all right, well, how fast is this guy? Is this guy really paying attention? Can I do a backdoor run on this guy? What if I cut this guy? And he conserves his energy, whether that's mental energy or physical energy, for when it's needed. Because when he needs to make a run, boom, old man is going, right? 39-year-old legs are hustling and hauling. And when he has that ball at his feet, the place rises. Not like Argentina fans ever sit down, to be honest with you, but you feel things get elevated when he has the ball at his feet, because anything can happen, and it's on his foot, and the defenders know him and they respect him. And he is, we're watching a GOAT continue. Like 4 years ago, he said, we said, he didn't, we said, that's it, right? Like, there's no way you're going to continue to play. You've already won the World Cup. What else is there to do? You go back even further. He lost the Copa America in New York, New Jersey Stadium. This was, I think, 2016. And he retired from international soccer. And then, like a week or so later, changed his mind, came back. So this is a guy who's had a chance to have that exit, that graceful exit. And he hasn't taken it, but his game hasn't diminished where you're like, man, I really wish he walked away, right? Like 2 years ago, get out in your prime, everything's good. He's still playing at an amazing level, and he still dictates his playing time and what he can do and what he can't do. And your eyes, don't deceive you, because they watch him, and your eyes are being blessed at that moment.
I got about a minute left here, and I'm going to make another football analogy with you here. Cristiano Ronaldo is the Americans' version of Dan Marino. Is that fair?
Does he have isotoner gloves? That's not a bad one. And I love Marino. I grew up a Dolphins fan. That's not bad. That's not bad. The chiseled looks. He does get frustrated with his teammates. I did want him to go a little bit deeper this tournament. I did want him to get a couple more goals, because everything he has done for this sport and on so many different stages across the globe has really been remarkable. But he's still a little bit more of that villain type character compared to Messi, which is more of like, those cuddly, cushy pillows that end up on, your teenage daughter's bed over there, right? Like you just feel safer and more comfortable with Messi around than you do maybe with a Ronaldo.
Well, keep continuing doing what you're doing. You guys are just galvanized the entire country with your broadcast there on Fox, and we'll be looking forward to that game today. Rob, thank you so much. Hope we can do it again. Thank you, my friend. Good luck this football season.
Thank you.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Sileo, only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal, he's done. He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like we said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy, crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
A really interesting interview with Dan Patrick with Mike McDonald, the head football coach of the Seattle Seahawks this past week, when was asked the question, when he was prepping for the Patriots Super Bowl and he was looking for advice on how to play against the Patriots, he was asked the question, who did you call? Well, he called somebody in the Patriot organization, or used to be in the Patriot organization. And by the way, if you read this tweet here, so head coach Mike McDonald says that there was one person that he reached out when it came to advice before the Super Bowl against the Pats. And it just so happened that he ended up getting there. There could be a conflict of interest. Oh, by the way, it's not Bill Belichick. So it leads you to believe that Tom Brady gave Mike McDonald advice on how to beat his former team, the New England Patriots. So Brady, again, and you know what this comes back to? This comes back to a player that, again, doesn't want to have this. Hey, I don't want anyone to do well without me. The Patriots end up making it back to the Super Bowl without Tom Brady. Tom Brady's giving Mike McDonald, the head football coach, advice on how to beat the Patriots. That sounds to me, hey, kid, I don't want you to do anything that was better than what I did. So when you want to go out and beat the Patriots, this is how you're going to beat that New England Patriots Mike Vrabel team. This is quite a statement here. Mike McDonald reached out for advice, and he got advice from the lead analyst at Fox and former Patriot Tom Brady on how to beat the Patriots. And he answered that. Hey, Tom, listen. Now I know why Giselle left you. You can't give guarded secrets away, my friend. Brady appears to be in a Seahawks conflict of interest here. You think? The guy's the lead analyst, and you wonder why when people were talking about him being involved with the Las Vegas Raiders. So every time he goes and he gets ready to prep for a team that he's going to be broadcasting for, he talks to the quarterback, he talks to the coach, he talks to all the coordinators prior to broadcasting that game. So all the information that he took in, how did you beat the Patriots? How did you go about with a game plan? Who was the one guy that you were going to stop? Brady, the head analyst at Fox Sports, and was the head analyst, is giving the head football coach with the Seattle Seahawks intel of what other organizations were telling him throughout the season on how to beat the Patriots? Remember, how many games did they call this year when they had Patriot games and Seahawk games? Remember, the NFC is on Fox. So you're telling me that all the teams that they played against, Brady had all that information and all the times that he talked to the opposing team's head football coaches and how they game planned against the Patriots. He's going to Mike McDonald and saying, hey, this is how the Buffalo Bills game planned against the Patriots. I was talking to Sean McDermott, and McDermott was telling me, hey, they like to run too high safety. This is what you do with too high safety. You got to have a guy throw the football underneath, and you got to have a guy do this. The Patriots like to do this with their front seven. They like to put Milton Williams in a 7-5-6. You can run the stretch play on him. How's that not a conflict of interest? And on top of that, Tom Brady is the head executive with the Las Vegas Raiders. How has that not become a problem? This guy talks to every single coordinator, every head coach on game plan. How are you going to beat the Eagles? How are you going to beat the New York Giants? Coaches come to him and say, we're going to do this. We're going to run this. We believe this player here. So Mike McDonald got inside information on how the Buffalo Bills, or say that the Kansas City Chiefs, or that any team in the AFC, how they game planned against the Patriots. Brady told them. So if you're the commissioner of the National Football League, don't you cut back on those interviews on how you have that guy who was the lead analyst and an executive with the Raiders, and he's giving intel to Mike McDonald, the head football coach of the Seahawks. How is that not a conflict of interest? Holy cow, man. This guy's got inside information. If he was on Wall Street, he would have his Series 7s taken from him. I mean, that's it. How do you know he's not placing bets? I mean, all the coaches that he speaks to, Mike McDonald goes, give me some advice on beating the Patriots. How did the Bills do it? You called many of the Bill games this year. NFL's got a problem, I'll say that. Tom Savino, it is UFC 329.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Sileo, only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
stop
on the
jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. And look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day, de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy, crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
You know, very seldom do you get a guy who can promote something. Conor McGregor, I was watching him when they were doing the introductions, and there he gets up with Max Holloway, takes the glasses off, gives him a headbutt. I don't know if there's ever been a guy who can promote a fight better than Conor McGregor, and UFC 329 is tonight. And you know what? He's got my ass watching this thing for sure. And I'm going to be watching this fight. Tom Savino joins us now. Tom, is there any guy in the history of UFC that can promote a fight better than this guy?
No, not even. It's not even remotely close. I mean, you had guys like Chael Sonnen who were great, but nobody drew the attention like Conor McGregor. And he's a loose cannon. You just never know what he's going to do. He's been pretty calm all the way up until that first face-off. And then all of a sudden he's in crazy Conor mode again. So the guy knows how to promote a fight. He's built the sport up. You know, when he came in 2014, 2015, he basically doubled the viewership of the sport. I mean, people were coming into the sport from all over the place, wanting to watch him lose, wanting to watch him win. Conor, he's just a different person. And he's one of the biggest stars. He is the biggest star that the sport's ever produced. And I don't know if anybody will top him.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Especially, I don't know if he's the greatest fighter of all time. St. Pierre, right. You can go, Khabib and all that. But maybe the most important, right, doubling, like you said, viewership here. Hey, before we get more into that fight, what do you look at this card? Do you think this card, outside of that fight, compelling fight? I don't know if it's going to be a great fighter yet. We'll get to your thoughts on that. But what do you make of the card 329?
The card's incredible. And the UFC has done a really good job with every Conor card they've ever put together. People want to be on this card. So you get really exciting fighters. They want to promote, like you got Paddy Pimblett, who's kind of a similar version of Conor. He's outlandish. He's exciting to watch in the cage. A lot of people poke holes in his game, but he keeps winning for the most part. Obviously, he's coming off that loss to Gaethje, but I feel like he gained more respect in that loss than he did in any of his wins with the fans. And you've got Terrence McKinney on this card, who's never been over 1.5 rounds in a fight. He's either finishing somebody early or he's getting finished early. And he's fighting King Green, formerly known as Bobby Green. Bobby Green's a great striker. He's been around a long time. He's an exciting fighter. He's a flashy guy. The entire card, I mean, from start to finish, you have a lot of finishers. You have a lot of up-and-comers. So if you take Max and Conor out of this card would still be a great card to watch. It's really good from top to bottom.
You think it's a better card than Freedom 250?
Well, I don't think it's a better card because that card, it was, you had, 7 fights. Every single one of those fights it could headline like a fight night or even a numbered event, some of those. So every fight on that card was a really high level fighter for the most part. And with the circumstances around it, with the White House and everything, kind of hard to top. But I mean, 3 weeks apart or however far apart this was, 2 great cards right in a row. The UFC's hot right now, and this is a hell of a card.
I agree with you 100% here. All right, McGregor and Holloway too. How do you see this thing playing out tonight?
Well, when I saw the fight was booked, I was kind of shocked because I said all along Michael Chandler was the guy that Conor should have fought because that was the guy that he's kind of on the downswing. He's hittable. Conor would have had a really good chance to win that fight against Michael Chandler, and I think he would have. To come in here and face Max Holloway, a guy who he has faced in the past, he has beat him in the past, but Max was very early in his UFC career. Max has come a long way since then. He's become a champion, one of the greatest champions at 145, knocked out the champion at 155, Justin Gaethje, in dramatic fashion. I mean, one of the best performances you've ever seen, and that was a little over a year and a half ago. So Max Holloway is a really, really tough out. And looking at it, I mean, Conor coming back from the injury, he's been off for 5 years. I have to lean towards Max. But when they did the ceremonial weigh-ins, Max was coming in. When he was walking in, it looked like he had a limp. So that kind of gives me a little pause. I don't know if he's playing it up. He did jog once he got up on the stage. He did jog. I don't know if he was, sometimes when you got a sore leg or a hurt leg, it's easier to jog than it is to actually walk. So I don't know. That's interesting. Conor looks really good. I think Conor is live early because Max is a guy that's there to be hit. We've seen him recently get knocked out by Topuria, which is something that we've never really seen before. So, there might be some cracks in the armor of Max Holloway. He's been through a lot of wars. I think Conor has a really good shot early in this fight. But once it gets into the 3rd round, 4th round, I kind of just think Max he's going to be the guy with the better cardio. He's going to have the better volume. And when it's all said and done, I think the safest way for me to bet this is Max Holloway over 2.5 rounds. But I am a little concerned now that I saw the limp. I don't know what to make of that.
Would you agree? You mentioned that he should have fought Michael Chandler too. And when you watched him against Diaz, one of the things that Diaz did was get him into the latter rounds in the fight that he choked him out in. So again, getting him on the mat, Holloway wants to get him on the mat because if you don't want to sit there and strike with a guy like a Conor McGregor, right? Do you want to get him on the mat, try to wear him out, test and see what that endurance is? Because as you said, this guy hasn't fought in 6 years. I mean, to me, I'd want to get him on the mat and try to let's see what kind of conditioning he's in.
Well, that is a decent strategy, but that's not really the way Max fights. The way Max is going to wear him down is with the pressure on the feet. He's got very good striking. He's relentless on the feet. This is a guy that's landed over 500 strikes in a fight. He was beating up Calvin Kattar, and there was talk about who's the best boxer in MMA. And while he was throwing combinations, he was looking over to DC at the announcers table saying, I'm the best boxer in the UFC, while he's landing combinations without looking. So Max, the pressure of Max is what's going to wear Conor down. The first time they fought, Conor actually tore his ACL early in that fight, and Conor was the one that took him down. And we've seen guys like Khabib, be able to wrestle Conor, but Conor's not a great grappler by any stretch. That is the weakness in his game. But he does have a very underrated ground game. He does have really good takedown defense when he's not fighting a really elite, grappler. So Max, his style has never really been grappling. The way for him to win this fight is to just put the pressure on Conor. Max is tough. He can take big shots. He's got to avoid, the big KO shot. But it's pressure on the feet that's really gonna do it for Max.
So Tom, you think early, if McGregor wins this fight, it's something early. You're saying Max Holloway wants to get this into the latter rounds, right?
Yeah. Yeah, if Conor wins this fight, it's either a first or a second round knockout. Outside of that, yes, Conor has gone 5 rounds. He did go 5 with Nate in the second fight. It was a very close fight. Nate was landing a lot late in those rounds. Conor hurt him bad early in that fight. Conor did end up edging out the 5th round, and that's what got him the win in that fight. But Nate Diaz and Max Holloway are not the same. If Conor has to fight a war where Max is throwing 300-400 strikes, it's just not a good look for Conor. And I just think Max has a big advantage as they get into like late 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds. That's definitely the better path for Max. And that's kind of the way Max has won most of his fights.
Tom, do you agree that really it's going to dictate how he fights Conor McGregor tonight on what the future is going to be? About 20 seconds. Is there more fights after this if he puts a good performance on, win or lose?
If he wins, for sure. If he loses, we'll probably see another dragged out. He'll probably take some more time off. I know he wants to get back in there. His contract's running up, so he definitely wants to fight for sure.
We will take a look at the rest of 329 on UFC next, right here on SportsGrid.
You wouldn't have your ex officiate your wedding.
Do you, Jake? Liar? Cheater? Gaslighter.
So why have anyone but America's largest injury law firm handle your injury case? With over $30 billion recovered for our clients, there's a reason to go big.
Gaslighter, coitus crier, he's got more red flags than a bullfighter's attire.
Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm.
Dana's got another great card going on tonight, UFC 329, and Tom Safino joins us now here. And Tom, what is the most compelling fight to you outside of McGregor and Holloway?
Well, honestly, I think the Paddy Pimblett BSD fight is probably the most compelling because these guys are two guys that are at the top of the weight class, and they're with a good win here in line to fight Justin Gaethje. And if you're talking about fun, if you're just watching because you like to see people get beat up and you like to see finishes, the King Green Terrence McKinney fight, I mean, that's a don't blink type fight. But I think compelling in terms of where they are in the rankings and what the fight means, the Paddy Pimblett fight to me is up there. I should say also the Corey Sandhagen Mario Batista fight. Those are also two guys right there in title contention. Sandhagen has fought for the belt. Batista's on a really good run right now. So that's another one. That's a very high level fight, very competitive fight. And that will be a fun one to watch too.
All right. How about this one here? The most underrated fight that really is not where people would look at and go, yeah, you know what? This is a great card and all, but what's the one fight tonight that you think is really not getting its justice that's underrated?
Well, there's, on the prelims, there's always fights that they go under the radar and, they get no talk. They get no interviews during the week. But honestly, the first fight of the night with Cody Durden and Alessandro Costa, that's a great way to kick off the card. Cody Durden is a guy, he's taken a lot of short notice fights recently. His record does not look great. He's lost 6 of his last 8, but he always comes out. He's explosive. He's got really strong wrestling. He's an exciting fighter. So I expect him to come out looking sharp. He's had a full camp for this one. This isn't a short notice fight for him. He's coming off a win where he won I think he was like a plus 300, plus 400 dog in his last fight. And Costa is a guy that's got big time power. He can hurt Cody Durden. And as the fight goes long, Cody does tend to slow down. So Costa, he can take over later in the fight. But first fight of the night, as usually it is, a lot of times the first fight of the night is a great fight. And the Durden Costa fight is another one that's going to kick the card off great.
How about the wrestler from University of Minnesota, Stevenson? What do you make of him? Do you think he's got any way of being anything? And do you think he's got any future with UFC?
Yes, I do. I mean, anytime a big time wrestler comes in, you kind of have to give them the benefit of the doubt that they are going to be something special. Now, we've seen guys come in that are strictly wrestlers. They don't like to get hit. And once they start getting hit against the better guys, they kind of just fizzle out. Or if they come and they think they're a striker and they try to stand and trade, then they start getting hit and all of a sudden their wrestling goes away. But Stevenson is a true powerhouse. He's explosive. He's training with John Jones. John Jones took him under his wing a few years ago, and his striking's actually not too bad. He's got big power. Now, he's fought basically, truck drivers before getting here to the UFC. So he has destroyed guys. I mean, he hit one guy with an overhand, and his plan was to hit him with an overhand and shoot a double leg. And he knocked the dude out as he was hitting him, and then he just took him down when the guy was unconscious. So he's definitely got some power in his hands. He's done some dirty boxing too, which you don't see. Like guys that are wrestlers, they want to rely on that wrestling, but he's done a dirty boxing fight. So he has been in there where he couldn't actually use his grappling, as a crutch. So I expect him to be something. He is pretty raw still. There are some guys at the top of the division that could give him some real problems, but it's like anything. He's going to come out. He's going to crush a few cans. He'll move his way up the ranks, and then we'll really see. But I do think he's got a pretty bright future.
Does Dana want strikers or grapplers, in your opinion? What does he prefer? What do you think he thinks sells the tickets more?
Well, it's definitely strikers. That's always probably going to be the case. But the grapplers that get guys down and do damage on the mat, those guys are fun to watch too. And that Dana doesn't have a problem with that. What Dana really gets upset about, and you can see it in those post-fight press conferences, is when a guy takes a guy down over and over again, and at the end of the fight, he's landed 15 strikes. That's where it's a real problem. But if you're a power grappler, like, you saw it with Khabib. Dana White loved Khabib. Khabib, all he wanted to do was wrestle. But when he got guys on the mat, he was beating them up on the mat. And he was talking to guys in the cage too, telling them, you got to just quit. I need this win. Just get out of this now before it gets bad. Like, so that was entertaining. So a guy that can grapple and land damage, Dana likes. But obviously, the majority of the fans, they want to see striking. They want to see knockouts. So if you're a good striker and you're knocking people out, you're generally getting pushed along pretty quickly.
Tom, we talked about this off air a little bit here, and I'll ask you, there's no question that Conor McGregor is the greatest promoter in the history of UFC. Who would you take as the greatest fighter in the history of UFC?
It's such a tough subject because it's really hard to not say John Jones because he's never lost. He did have a loss on his record because he landed illegal elbows in a fight that he was absolutely dominating. I think that was wiped from his record, if I'm not mistaken, but he's never truly lost. Like, he's never truly lost a fight. Now, there are fights, the Reyes fight, you could say he lost that fight. The Thiago Santos fight, that was a pretty close 5-round fight. Santos blew out both of his knees in that one. Santos could have won. The first Gustafsson fight. There are fights on John Jones' record that could have just gone the other way, split decisions, that could have just gone the other way. And, it would change the entire narrative. But when you really break it down, Jones, he hasn't had those losses. Khabib's up there, obviously. GSP's a guy that has losses on his record. But when you really look at the body of work of GSP, he's up there. So it's really tough to say. Honestly, I thought
Anderson Silva, would he be in?
Yeah, and what upsets me about the Anderson Silva thing is when he was fighting, when he was in his prime, he was taking fight. He was a 185-pound champion. He was running through everybody, and he was taking fights at 205, just moving up, just knocking out light heavyweights and looking amazing. And if his career was 10 years later, after the big Conor storm, when, Conor got the belt at 45, moved up, got the belt at 55, Anderson Silva absolutely had a real legitimate shot to win the title at 205 and be a double champion, but he never got that opportunity. He only got the opportunity to move up and fight guys in that division, dominate them, but never got to fight for that belt to be a double champion. And Anderson Silva's peak was about as good as it gets. It really was.
I can't wait to see what happens on UFC 329 tonight. Tom, appreciate you very much. Final thoughts next here on SportsGrid.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Sileo, only on SportsGrid.
This is the third time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day, de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.
You know, the evolution of Major League Baseball is happening right in front of our eyes, and you see with all the specialized pitching that goes on in baseball. And I do like the new ABS system that's in place. But we're going to see something go extinct here over the next couple of years, and that is the 300-game winner in Major League Baseball. Justin Verlander has announced that he is ending his career after the 2026 season, and right now, currently, he's at 266 victories on his legendary career, which will be a first ballot Hall of Famer. He has made it very clear that this will be the final season. And how about this? 266. That'll be the most wins you will see with a Major League Baseball pitcher maybe over the next 40 years. The next closest guy right now is Max Scherzer, and he's at 41 years of age. He's got 222 victories. And then the guy next to him is at 156 victories, and I believe that that's Garrett Cole. So at the end of the day, you're not going to see a 250-game winner ever again in Major League Baseball. One of the things that we see in baseball is that the home run total has gone up. Back in the day, if you had 300 home runs, there was a shot you were going to be a Major League Baseball player that would go to the Hall of Fame. Well, if you hit 400 home runs, you were almost a sure shot to go to baseball's Hall of Fame. What, because of the steroid era, because of the game, because of the baseball bats, the loaded baseballs that we see in the game? There's no doubt that 500 home runs doesn't guarantee you an opportunity to make it into baseball's Hall of Fame. 600 is more so the number now to get you into that exclusive category of going to the Hall of Fame. Pitching, on the other hand, has gone the other way. You know, you have openers now like you do in Tampa. You don't really have guys going 5 2/3 to get those recorded victories. You have guys that go out, give you 5 innings, they go to the specialized pitching, and the bullpens are filled nowadays. You're not going to see a guy that's going to win 200 ball games in the near future. Those guys are now extinct. So when you see Justin Verlander, and this year is his last year, this is the last 250-game plus winner you're going to see maybe in your lifetime. Years past, Randy Johnson was the last 300-game winner. I believe he did that in 2009. And I believe he did that against the San Francisco Giants. I think before that, I think you had Tom Glavine, was also the second to last guy to end up winning his 300th game. Used to be a cool thing to go to the baseball parks and see guys like Steve Carlton and Tom Seaver going out there and giving you 7 2/3 or 9 innings of baseball and watching these goats go out there and these workhorses. That was one of the cool, fun things about Major League Baseball when you had those workhorse pitchers. What'd they call them? Stoppers. The guys that would go every 3-4 days to go out there at a ballpark and stop a losing streak, those guys are long gone. You do not have those guys in today's baseball. With velocity going up in the sport, the guys that are now the signature players back in the day, like a Gibson, Carlton, Seaver, Roger Clemens, guys like Pedro Martinez, players like that, those guys are going to be lost arts on how you pitch. Now, again, as I said, it's about full and big-time bullpens. It's about guys going out and giving you 4 innings and turning it over to your bullpen. Really no signature starters any longer. That when I grew up with, what made Major League Baseball was great, those wonderful confrontations that you would have with Roger Clemens versus Mike Piazza, or having Greg Maddux go out there with his majesty, the way that he would just carve that plate up and go all around the black and just get 355 victories. What an era that was, too, we just came out of, with all those guys throwing over 300 wins. I believe Clemens had 350 wins, and I believe of 354, and I believe you had Greg Maddux at 355. You're not seeing that any longer. Those guys are lost. And again, a part of baseball history is lost with the revolution of the game today and the evolution of the game, is that you now go towards having more guys in your bullpen than having guys as your big-time aces. The ace is gone. Justin Verlander has had a phenomenal career. I believe he's a double-time winner of a Cy Young. To make it, put that in context, Nolan Ryan never won a Cy Young in his entire 27-year brilliant career. Never at any time won a Cy. And you got Verlander with 2 of these things, 266 victories. Baseball is getting really some great athletes in it. You see Shohei Ohtani, there's awesome players in it, what we watch each and every single day. Junior Caminero, who's an unknown hero and an unknown star down in Tampa, is not going to cover off the baseball. Great stars. The pitching stars, they're not there like they used to be back in the day. It's really changed the game. So when Verlander called it a career, you're looking at a dying breed. 266 victories. You'll never see another 250-game winner in baseball history again. Folks, I appreciate you coming aboard. We'll see you on Sunday. We'll catch you on the flip side.
He gives them a chance, but they've got to keep putting people around him. I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know that he's the one that elevates you all by himself. I think he still needs the help. Excellent player, perfect guy to lead your organization, perfect place for it. And by the way, I'd start him from day one. I wouldn't waste any time on it. But got to put pieces around him, and John Spytek has already started doing that.
Outspoken with Dan Sileo. Only on SportsGrid.
This is the 3rd time he's been medically checked. Even the refs coming over. He's like, dude, like come on. Like after every sort of play in front of the net, the kind of goal he's done.
Yeah.
He's
like,
on
stop jumping.
He's on the turf, like you said, like he's like driving off the top rope. Look at him here again. I give him credit. He's freaking fearless.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Are you ready for el verano más futbolero de tu vida? Latination Football Club turns into Copa Nation, our live stream experience every day, de lunes a viernes, 11 a.m. Pacific and 2 p.m. Pacific as well. Checking in after the games. In that slot between games, we got you, my friend. We're going to have celebrities, legends of the game, content creators, and a bunch of our friends that are going to keep you entertained and informed, letting you know what's happening all across the 3 countries that are going to be experiencing this crazy football tournament. Don't miss it. Copa Nation right here on Latin Nation every day. Check it out.